5 years and the release of a whole new console generation later, the Xbox One X still soldiers on in 2023. However, with the release of the budget-conscious Series S console, is the Xbox One X still worth your hard-earned dosh in this new era? Hello everyone and welcome to Conned into Tech. Now today we're going to dive straight into the reasons why you might buy an Xbox One X instead of a Series S in 2023. Now the first reason you might want to dive into an Xbox One X is in its native 4K gaming. On the Xbox One X you can play natively 4K at up to 60 frames per second. Now, while more demanding games will drop that frame rate to 30 frames per second in 4K, it is notable here that the Series S does not support this at all. Now, the second reason why you might buy an Xbox One X is the fact that every game that has been created in recent years, from Halo Infinite to Stardew Valley, still runs on the Xbox One X. Now, not being forced to upgrade by Microsoft is a huge plus. You can still feel like a cool kid with the latest bomber jacket and Jordans, if that is still relevant. Now, as games stop optimizing the Xbox One X, you will find that performance will, and it has, dropped somewhat, but it still is in the race, and you can still play with your friends online on any Xbox console. The Xbox One X also comes with a disc drive, so if you're looking at older games that you can buy used, or if you're just looking for a decent deal in the disc format to be able to resell later, you might find the One X is the choice for you. Now, this brings on to the final reason you might still want to buy an Xbox One X in 2023, and that is the inclusion of 1TB of storage. Now, compare this to the 512GB that you get on the Series S console. Now, while this is enough for a few games, you'll still see this will fill up really quickly, especially with the size of some of the games currently, with games such as Call of Duty, Marvel's Avengers, and NBA 2K all rocking over a cool 100GB. Now, what this will result in is a lot of reinstalling and uninstalling games just to stay in that 512GB. Otherwise, you'll find yourself forking out for an extra SSD drive or a hard drive to store those games on. However, despite all of these reasons, there are two main caveats to buying the One X in 2023, and that is loading times and price. Now, full disclosure, I did have a Series X before I moved countries, and I thought that I would buy a One X to save a bit of dosh while not losing too much of the experience. I was sorely mistaken. Now, while having 4K gaming is good, the thing that I realized I missed the most was those fabulous loading times. Now, I have to say, I really have missed them, especially that quick resume feature. If you haven't experienced them before, then obviously it's not something that you can miss. However, once you've experienced that super fast SSD loading times, it really is hard to take that step back and go back to those regular hard drive loading screens. Now, this would be an absolutely fine compromise if you don't mind waiting for games to load, except for the second major caveat, and that is price. Now, here in the UK, currently, buying a One X will set you back on the second-hand market between £150 and £225 at a reputable dealer. These places should give you a warranty, which is a nice thing to have, particularly with a second-hand console. Now, you can obviously buy online from things like Facebook Marketplace or Gumtree. However, you don't get that warranty, though you do save a fair few pounds in that process. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The Series S console was, over Boxing Day and Christmas, down to £200 new. Now, this obviously isn't the case over the entire year, as it's gone back up to £250 now. However, on the used market, you don't find a huge discrepancy from the One X to the Series S in price from many dealers. This is prices in the UK, of course, where in places like India, I know that has been rising quite a bit for some reason with the Series S, so you may find a bigger price discrepancy over in a different part of the world. Now, which of these two consoles might suit you best? If you're predominantly a desktop monitor gamer, I feel like you will best be served with the 1440p resolution up to 120 frames per second that can be had on the Series S, particularly with those speedy load times. At the size of a desktop monitor, I don't feel like you're going to see as much of a difference between that 4K, if you have a 4K monitor, and that 1440p resolution. Now, when we hit the TV, on the other hand, this is where that value proposition might change a little bit. If you value graphical fidelity and native 4K above all else, then the One X might be the way that you swing. Also, if you're buying this for kids and just want them to play locally without ever going online, this is where you're definitely going to have to dive into the One X or anything with a disk drive. Personally, however, even at this level, I think the Series S offers much better value. To make a generalization, I feel if you're shopping in this area, you are more of a casual gamer and therefore less concerned potentially about the graphical fidelity of games. Due to this, those speedier load times on the Series S will prove to be much more noticeable and beneficial to you in this zone. Now, despite the fact on the Series S you have less storage that will fill up quickly, and the fact you don't have that disk drive, the fact that Game Pass is such a comprehensive service does mitigate a lot of that negative. Thank you for watching Conned Into Tech. Please make sure to like and subscribe down below. Have a good one.